It's Ranger Russ from the Meigs Nature Center, coming to you from a very rainy Hammonasset Beach State Park today. Looking out my window, it looks like the rain has let up. It was pouring earlier, but we've just got a sprinkle now. So there's a lot of rain scheduled for today. I was planning on doing another beach combing, and that got rained out, I guess you would say. We had a lot of winds last week when I tried to do beach combing, so you can look for beach combing. Fall beach combing will be coming up. We'll find hopefully some different things in the fall than we normally find during the summer. Now, I want to let everybody know we've got a really special program coming up this Saturday at 10 o'clock. I have Nick Bellantoni, who is the former state archaeologist for the state of Connecticut, and he'll be talking about the Native American tribes, the Native American people that lived along the coast of Connecticut. So very excited for that, coming up this Saturday, 10 o'clock, Facebook Live. Make sure that you tune in for that. If you miss it live, we will be putting up our recorded presentations on our YouTube channel, the Meigs Nature Center YouTube channel. You can also view them on our virtual learning center on the website, meigspointnaturecenter.org. So please continue to follow us, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of those things help the Nature Center, helps us get our message out about environmental education. So I want to thank everybody that's tuning in. I see a lot of people are already putting up comments and where they're from, so I always like to see where you're from. So it looks like New Jersey. I saw Michigan earlier. I think that's British Columbia, Canada. And somebody says, I like Nick, and Stratford and Wallingford. So lots of cool things. There's Linda, one of our volunteers here at the Nature Center. So today, because I got rained out of my regularly scheduled program, and I'm not going to say regularly scheduled because I do have a list of upcoming programs, but it's really subject to flexibility depending on what happens. So today, very different program. I'm going to be doing a fireside story. Now, I do have upcoming an evening fireside story program coming up. It'll be some Friday that we have good weather. Coming up, we'll be doing fireside stories, and I'll do several stories, but this is one of the stories that I enjoy telling, and it is a lot of fun. So I hope that you enjoy this story. I have to have my water here because this story requires me to do some voices, I like to do the voices in this story. It helps the story along. So let me take some water now. It's really hard on the voice. So I heard this story the first time from a Native American. It's not a Native American story, but I had the opportunity to do a storytelling program when I was at Rocky Neck State Park. And the first program that I did, there was a Seminole Native American from Florida who was a storyteller, professional storyteller. And he came to the fireside stories, and I told a couple stories, and he said, I'm a professional storyteller. Actually, I think he told me beforehand that he was a professional and asked if he could do a couple of stories. And this is one of the stories that he did. So he did the voices. I still do the voices. I think it really makes the story. So this is the story of the old man and the thief. Now the story starts out when the old man was a young man. And he had a goal, like many young men, to become the most wealthy man in all the land. He had a plan of how he would do this. He saved up all of his money, and then he sold everything that he owned. And he bought things that were very, very inexpensive in his hometown. And he took those things far across the land. Month after month, he traveled farther and farther until finally, after months, he came to a place where the things that he had from his hometown were worth far more than what he paid for them. And so he sold them all. And he bought things in that town that were very, very inexpensive. And again, he set out across the land. For months he traveled with these small items until he found a place where he could sell them for a lot more money. And he continued to do this, buying things that were very inexpensive in one place and taking them far across the land where he could sell them for much more money. Until he had a caravan following him across the land. He would need more and more wagons and horses to transport his goods. And he bought more and more different items in each place. Now, eventually, he realized that he was the most wealthy man in all the land. He was more wealthy than the king himself. But by this time, he was an old man. And he decided that he was going to settle down. So he went to the most beautiful town, the most beautiful city in the whole kingdom. And he bought the biggest, most beautiful house on a hill overlooking this city. And then he began to buy things to decorate his house. He bought the most beautiful furnishings, tapestries, paintings, artwork. As he traveled around to find things for his home, he met a woman. They were the same age, and they quickly fell in love, and the old man asked the old woman to marry him and move into his home, and she did. And they shared this home, and she helped him to decorate his beautiful mansion on the hill. Now, about this time, there was another young man, and he also, like the old man, wanted to be the most wealthy man in all the land. But he had a very different plan. He would just break in to the biggest, most wealthy house in all the land, steal all the wealth and riches, and then he would be the most wealthy man in the land. And so he waited outside of the old man's house. The old man and the old woman sat by the fire. The evening got late, and the old woman said to the old man, old man, it's time to go to bed." And the old man said, "Not now. I'm reading my book." So the old woman took her candle, and she went upstairs. And she called down again, old man, it's time to go to bed." No, I'll be up in a minute," said the old man. And the old woman got ready, and she climbed into bed and called down again, old man, it's time to go to bed." "All right," said the old man. And he took his candle, and he went upstairs, got ready for bed, and he climbed into his bed and blew out his candle. Well, that's what the thief was waiting for. He waited a few more minutes to make sure that the old man and the old woman had fallen asleep. And then he crept over to the side of the house. It was a beautiful house with big white pillars and ivy growing on the side of the house. So the thief began to climb the ivy up the side of the house. Well, the old woman heard this, and she called, old man, there's a thief on the wall." But the old man had fallen asleep, and he just groaned and turned over. The thief climbed onto the roof of the house, and the old woman heard it, and she cried again, old man, there's a thief on the roof, there's a thief." Well, this time, the old man heard it, and he sat up, and he listened as the thief crept across the roof of the house to try and find a way in. And the old woman screamed, old man, there's a thief, there's a thief. And And the old man said, "Don't worry, I hear it. I'll take care of him." And he leaned over to the old woman and he whispered in her ear. And then he got up and he went to the window and he opened the windows wide. And he turned to her and he said, "Okay, say what I asked you to say." And the old woman, "But there's a thief, there's a thief." And the old man said, "Don't worry, just say what I asked you to." And the old woman, in a nice loud voice so the thief on the roof could hear, said, old man, how is it you gained all the wealth and all the riches that you have?" Well, the thief stopped to listen. He wanted to be the most wealthy man, and now the old man was going to give away his secrets. And so the old man answered, in a nice loud voice so the thief on the roof could hear, "When I was a young man, I climbed to the top of the tallest house on the night of a full moon. And I called to that moon, 'Moon, O great magnificent moon, come down so I may hop on your back and ride.' And the moon was flattered by my compliments. So it came just close enough that I was able to leap out and grab onto it. And it took me from one house to another, and I stole all the wealth and all the riches from every house in the land." And then the old man stopped to listen. And he heard on the roof of the house, "Moon, O great magnificent moon, come down so I may hop on your back and ride." And then he heard, "Ah!" as the thief jumped off the roof of the house. Well, just about this time every evening, there was a wagon that would go around and clean up all the manure from all the horse traffic that day. And the thief crashed into the back of the manure wagon, and the manure spilled onto the street. There was a great commotion. All of the neighbors came out, and the old man went out, and he told them what had happened, how this young man had tried to break into his house. But he was so gullible he believed he could ride on the moon. Well, the townspeople laughed. They thought it was very funny that this thief thought he could ride on the moon, but they were also very angry that this man was going to try and steal all of their wealth and riches. And so they tied him to a pole and they carried him out of town, and never would he be heard from again. Okay. I do always enjoy that program. My son Josh, actually, that's his favorite campfire story. Every time we have a fire, he wants me to tell that story. So it is a lot of fun. But there is a moral to the story as well. Actually, there are a couple. First of all, the moral is that you shouldn't believe everything that you hear. And then, as it was very pointedly put out to me by a 5-year-old boy at one of my programs, he said, you also shouldn't steal things. And that's true. There are 2 morals to the story. Don't steal, and don't believe everything that you hear. So this young thief was obviously very gullible. Do we have any comments? I just see a lot of people saying hello. So I'm going to take this time to remind everyone that these programs will happen from 11 from Tuesday through Friday, with special programs occasionally on evenings, and this Saturday a very special program with former state archaeologist Nick Bellantoni talking about Native Americans on the shoreline. So you can see that program live on Facebook, 10 o'clock this coming Saturday. And then next Saturday after this one, we have another very special guest. I'll tell you more about that coming up. but you can also get more information on our website. You can see the upcoming programs, and you can also visit our virtual learning center for lots of additional information. I want to give a shout out to our core or group of volunteers that have been coming up with additional educational information to put up on the website along with the videos. I know that there are schools that are using the videos, and you're more than welcome to use the videos and those additional educational information. And I want to let everybody know that the swallows are still here. I've got a group of them circling outside the window. So you can go back to the Virtual Learning Center and do my kayak trip out on the beginning, the mouth of the Connecticut, not really the mouth of the Connecticut River, but the beginning of the Connecticut River. There's an island where these swallows will gather for the evening. You can watch that video. I've got them murmurating around right before they come in and land. So make sure you tune in and watch that video. Also, I want to let everybody know, if you missed it, last Tuesday's program was really special. I had a very close encounter with a long-tailed weasel, and you can watch that video. It was really fun. That weasel came right up to me, so make sure you tune in and watch that video on YouTube, probably on the website as well by now. So make sure you tune in, and you never know what's going to happen on one of these live programs. I see someone says lessons to live by. Very good. And I don't see any questions. Thanks for the story. You're welcome for the story. All right, so until tomorrow at 11 o'clock, this is Ranger Russ from the Meigs Point Nature Center. I hope you enjoyed this story, and I will see you tomorrow.